We're going to get started here in just a couple minutes. Still a couple of more folks coming in, so we'll hang on just for a second. Last two sections, I had one handout each section. This time I have two for you. If for some reason you did not get the handouts and you would like them, I'm not saying you have to have them, but if you'd like to have them, just get a card from me and send me an email and just say, I want the slides, or I want handouts, or I want both of them. They're easy enough to give to you, so that's okay. That's an easy thing for you. Go ahead. And if you're wondering why I don't have a podium, it's because one of the other classes needed it. And I've been preaching longer, so I'm supposed to be able to adapt, right, brother? We know how that goes. We know how that goes. So I'll move this just a little bit and get it out of the way of my makeshift podium here. And anybody that listens to this is going to be going nuts. You know, because they're going to go, makeshift podium, what is he talking about? Let me give you some statistics as we start. I don't have a PowerPoint for this lesson because I want it to be somewhat interactive, and so that means I need some input from you, and I want some feedback and some things. I have enough material to go for about 3 hours, so you know, if you guys don't participate, you get to hear me more and more and more. So I need some participation. By the way, the sisters who aren't in on the preachers, elders, and deacons meeting downstairs missed the gym. And I know you weren't invited, I get that. But it was great to hear these brothers talk about their works and their passion and all the congregations that are represented here. That was good. I hope that the sisters took time and will take time to do the same kind of thing, because it was extremely beneficial to get together. Down in Pennsylvania, we don't have any of these things going on our end of Pennsylvania. They do over towards Manitowoc and over into New Jersey and some of the things there. So, what I want to do is I want to talk to you about targeted love and learning to practice targeted love towards the unchurched. The latest statistic that I saw was that 65% of all the people living around your building go nowhere to church and are not connected with any church. So 6.5 people out of every 10, however you want to cut that up, 65% of all the people who live around you go nowhere to church. Okay? So I just want you to understand that the fields are certainly white on the hearts, and we need to be out there reaching people and teaching people. We need to be teaching people and reaching people in the same ways that Jesus did. When you think about what Jesus did to reach out to people, he did not do, number one, the traditional things. The traditional things of the old law and how they reached out and how they talked to their friends and that kind of thing. Jesus didn't do that. You know, Jesus went to a woman who had lots of prejudice against him and said, "Excuse me, give me a drink." And her answer is, "Why are you, a Samaritan woman, asking me for a drink? You're a Jew. You're a Jewish man. Why are you asking me these things?" And so we need to reach out and teach people. And there's an old adage out there that I try to throw away. The adage is, you can lead a horse to drink, but you can't. However, you can salt its oats. Right? You can make a horse learn how to drink. You can salt its oats. You can make it thirsty, and you can get it ready. And so that's what you want to do. You want to start salting people's oats, right? And it doesn't mean that you're making people angry or upset. It doesn't mean that you're offending people. One of the brothers in talking about some other ways to reach out and teach people. And I want to get together with him and kind of pick his brain a little bit and have him tell me some things about that. Step-family and blended family ministries are different than just a marriage ministry. When you talk about a step-family or a blended family, and I'll kind of talk about it a little bit, but I'm going to sort of merge those two things together. A step-family, obviously the children or husband or wife is from another family, and we're going to talk about step-families in that way. I will give you one of the handouts I have is from a really good resource. It's called Family Life Today. They're basically a denominational, I think they're a Baptist background, but the one thing I do like about them is they don't push or promote their particular denomination. There are some things that you kind of have to sit through, like you do any commentary or any group out there. But I do know that Ron Deal, one of the guys that I quote a lot, went to Abilene Christian, and I forget where he did his master's degree, but I think it was Hardy. And everything I can see from Ron is he's a preacher in the church. And but he works with the step-family and blended family segment of family life. And I really like what Ron has to say. And that's one of the handouts I'll share with you after a little bit. It is estimated, and this is a stretch of a number. So I'll ask you first. What have you normally heard about the divorce rate? How many, the percentage of couples who are eventually going to get divorced from a first marriage? What's the normal number? Anybody know? Somebody said 60? Yeah. That's a little high, but good number. No, it's typically around 50%. But that number is probably a little skewed. It was taken in 1972, and it was one survey of one group of people. And the number is probably closer to about 45 or 46. Now, the number you quoted, believe it or not, is low for step families or second marriages. Second marriages, typically 70% of those end in divorce. And one of the reasons for that is because they don't know Jesus. But even members of the church, we suffer from having divorces. Now, the number of marriages in the churches of Christ that get a divorce, that percentage is less. And I don't know the exact number because it's kind of skewed a little bit. But let's just say it's 30%. I mean, let's take a real positive and say it's 30%. That means that 3 out of every 10 couples in the body of Christ are going to end up in a divorce. That's horrible. I don't know about you, but that's horrible. We ought to have or get it to where it is 0. And part of it is we don't emphasize marriage. And as I kind of said, and I don't remember whether it was the first or second session, all of a sudden Johnny and Susie, you ask them, well, where are they? We haven't seen them in a while. They haven't been to church. And somebody else, oh, well, they're feeling bad because they got a divorce. Got a divorce? Remember I said, they sit on the front row. They're the ones that, like last night, they're the ones that are always in here cleaning the building. They're the ones that are always here bringing food. What do you mean they're divorced? I didn't know they were having problems. Oh, that ought to be a wake-up for us. And I want you to ask yourself a very personal question. How many couples do you get with on a regular basis and talk about marriage? Now, probably more of the sisters in here get together and talk about raising children, and that's a good thing. You're in people's lives, and that's a good thing. But I want to encourage it to kind of ease that over into talking about marriage. Now, if you've been married 20 years or more, you need to setting the pace for younger couples. You need to be looking at it. And some of you are thinking, yeah, but I'm not a marriage counselor. But you don't understand. You've been married 20 years. You've dealt with and handled and overcome enough problems that you can help somebody else. Do you have all the answers? No. I don't know anybody that has all of the answers. Okay? But you have some of the answers. If you've been married less than 20 years, I want to encourage you to go up to somebody, like let's say I was a lot younger than John, which I'm not, but if I was a lot younger than John, and I was in this congregation, and I wanted somebody for us to imitate, or us to mentor, I go to John and say, John, listen, I've been watching your marriage, I appreciate your emphasis in marriage, and so I have a huge favor to ask. Would you and your wife mentor Elaine and I? See, that's non-threatening. That's very easy to do, right? Yeah, he would. You know, think about it. If somebody came to you and asked you to be a mentor for them, well, that's a great compliment. That's a great compliment. And I want to change a passage of Scripture a little bit. 2 Timothy 2 and verse 2, Paul tells young Timothy to find faithful men who will then also find faithful men. Go read the text. So I'm paraphrasing it a little bit. But you find faithful men who will do faithful works, in essence. So what I'm encouraging you to do is find faithful members of the body of Christ that you can have either them mentor you or you can mentor them. Now, if you've been married 10 to 20 years, don't look at it and say, well, I have to find somebody older than me. Because if you've been married 10 years and you're still married and things are going on okay, then you've overcome a lot of problems. By the way, another one of the statistics is if couples make it 4 years in their marriage, the likelihood that they'll make it to 20 soars. It's amazing. You know, we hear the thing, and there was a movie written several years ago called The 7-Year Itch. And we think, well, that's, it's 7 years. It isn't. 4 years is a magic number. There's something about when couples get through that honeymoon stage, they have this life experience. They have all these things that are going on, and all of a sudden they wake up one morning and they go, oh man, this is real. We're really married for life. You know, one of the 2 life sentences, right? And the other one you don't want to be in. And maybe some people don't want to be in that life sentence. But the problem is, people wake up and they realize that we're married and we don't know how to stay married. We don't know how to make this thing really fly. Just understand that you have couples that have been married 4 years or less in your congregation. Satan is really working in their marriage to destroy it. So the 4, now, is everybody that way? No. I'm talking statistics right now, okay? You might have a couple that's married 5 or 6 years and you think, they passed that magic number. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Go to them and encourage them and let them know that you would like to help them. And by the way, if you're an older couple, and you'll have to decide on what's older, if you're an older couple, you can mentor several different couples. It doesn't mean you have to spend 30 hours a week working. No, here's what a mentor couple should be. Let's say that Elaine and I are mentoring you. We just took you on as couples, and we're going to mentor you. Here's what we're going to do with you. We're going to sit down and we're going to eat a meal with you, or we're going to have you in our home. And we're going to have some coffee or tea or whatever you like to drink, and we're going to tell you that we would like to mentor you in marriage. However, the mentorship program is just this. When you have a problem because you and your bride back there are a little younger than we are, you get into a problem and you're wondering, how do we handle this? Who do we go to? Because you see, not everybody feels comfortable enough going to the preacher. Not everybody feels comfortable enough going to mama or daddy, and really that's the worst people you go to. It is. Because, you see, if I start telling my mom the bad things about my wife, and then we make up, what does my mom remember? All those bad things. You got it. You got all those bad things. Okay? We had a couple in one of our seminars, and we were talking about respecting husbands and disrespecting husbands, and I was talking through some things, and all of a sudden she looked up at me, and I'm in the middle of my presentation, and she goes, "Just a minute." Okay? Yeah. I called her my name, good sister, friend of ours. And I said, "Yeah." She said, "You mean if I share with my mom some things going on in our marriage, I'm being disrespectful to him?" And she was pointing to her husband. We're a loving couple, very loving couple. And I said, "Ask him, don't ask me." And she turned around and asked him, and he's a very quiet, gentle fellow. He really is. And she asked him, and he went, "Yeah." She didn't say anything to me. Tears running down her face. She just gave him a big hug, and it's like, "I didn't mean to do that." And we don't. There are a lot of things we do in a wedding, in a marriage, and we don't think about it in that way. What do you do to establish a marriage ministry? Let me give you a few statistics here that have to do with a blended marriage and some of the things you might have to overcome, or some of the things you might have to put up with. If you're going to do a ministry that's going to reach out to step families and blended families, you need to understand some of the people that are going to come to you are very embarrassed because they feel like failures the first time around. And so however you present this, it can't be presented as though you're a second-class citizen, but we'll let you come in. Can't do that. You have to present it in such a way that God loves you too. And I was talking with one of the sisters earlier that was had been in one of the brothers. And he said that one of the problems in the church sometimes is you can come in if you've been married before, you can sit on the back pew as long as you're real quiet and you don't ruffle any feathers. Really? Where did we get that divorce is the second unpardonable sin? And we need to be cautious about how we present this to people. There is a shame of embarrassment that people come through. What's good about a step family or a blended family marriage ministry? Well, the first thing is it can help prevent re-divorce. Because you're going to help connect with people. And one of the things that I find very interesting about when we're coaching people, one of the questions early on that we ask is, well, what kind of premarital coaching or counseling did you get? Most people say, I didn't have any. Or as the one sister here just a few minutes ago said, we had one day of it, and the preacher told us, don't get married. Well, that's real good. That's real good. Not how to be married, how to get married, and have a better marriage, but, you don't need to be married in that way. One of the things is that this idea of blended family ministry will help support healthy child development because you're going to help those kids overcome some of the issues and some of the problems they're going through. And the church needs to be a hospital for sinners. We need to reach out to people who are hurting. Now think about this. If 40% of all marriages have at least one person in them, could be a child, could be husband or wife, but 40% of all marriages, new marriages, not just marriages, but new marriages, 40% of them have someone who has been affected by either, like me, a child of divorce, or by husband or wife being, divorced. And if it is children involved in it, the likelihood is that, you know, mom and dad were married before. And so they bring some other baggage in there. And so just letting people know, it's just like having an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting at your building, or some other meeting that you're meeting somebody's needs. You need to let people know we're here to serve you. Most of our churches, I don't know your congregation, but most of our fellowship, if somebody comes into your fellowship, you probably make them feel pretty good. You know, you love on them, and hi, how are you? What are you doing here? You know, is there some way we can help you or whatever? So when people come into our building, we're real good at that. Our problem is we don't reach out to people. And I got to tell you, in Altoona, we've not done that as well either. And that's why I kind of said this is a work in progress that I'm sharing with you. We don't have all of the answers. I knew I had a sheet with a bunch of statistics on it. 40% of married couples with children in the U.S. are step couples. Okay? So I'm better off if I read from here. I'll do a better job of quoting them all. In the United States, 100 million Americans have a step relationship. 100 million. Whew. That's a few people we can reach out. That's lives of. In 1960, that was a day or two for it ago, but in 1960, just 13% of married adults were in a second or subsequent marriage. Today, close to 25%, which is 42 million adults, are in a second or subsequent marriage. This is triple the rate of 1960. And of new marriages, this is one I quoted for you a few seconds ago, and of new marriages, 40% are remarriages. 20% for one couple, one partner, and 20% for the other. 13% of adults, 13% of all adults that you push the cart around in Walmart, 13% of those are step parents, 29 to 30 million. And we're not talking about single families, you know, where you got a single mom or a single dad who's taking care of kiddos. We're talking about the marriage of a step family thing, and those are huge numbers when you really stop to think about it. Those are compiled by again Ron Deal from the Step Family organization, or he's got a whole section for family life today, and you'll get I'll give you a copy of the paper from Ron, one of the papers that I'm quoting, and it has Ron's information. I emailed him last week and said, you got a lot of good stuff, can I quote this? And he said, yeah, just make sure you put the stuff down. I said, okay, I'll just print it and leave your logos and everything down the bottom with my information on there too. So I got it covered. I want to make sure I did what I said I would do. How many of you have any kind of an active, intentional marriage ministry of any kind in your congregation? Oh, that's super. Now, I'm not talking about premarital counseling. I'm talking about a marriage. Okay, that's good. Tell me a little bit about it. This is wonderful news. I have some more resources. See, you thought you were coming in here to learn from me.
Well, right now, there's 40 fairly new married couples.
Yeah.
So some of the things that we're doing is like the wall, like tearing down the wall.
Oh, okay. Yeah, tearing down the walls.
Yeah, and we haven't gotten too very far into it, but we're on that same page. So seeing that today allowed us to go back and talk about it.
Good. Are you part of the Milton congregation?
No, we're doing church.
Oh, okay, that's fine. How many of you guys have been to Milton congregation here? Okay, good. Some of you going through that red and white book? Yeah. And you didn't shoot me, and you're in here. All right. What we're talking about is they have a monthly group session, and there's about 12 couples who are going through this, and they're using my book, which I haven't facetiously finding that, but using my book to go through it. And at the end of every chapter, I left some practical applications in what I call I lost 10. Pep bills, thanks, honey. Yes, I really did write a book, I promise. My head was going a different direction. So are you in on that discussion? How's it going for you? I mean, do you like the discussion?
I love it, and I'm not going to change.
Oh, okay, good. And she didn't have to change it. I got to tell you, David, one of the things that we did, and I think I put it in the book, but I'm not sure if we do it in the seminar. I would be reading in a book because I was learning. I'm talking about 30 years ago. And I come across something. And it could be something like women like to be heard, they don't like to be fixed type thing. You know? And so I take my yellow marker and I mark that paragraph, and then I go to Elaine and I say, read this, would you? And she'd read it, she'd go, yeah. What do you mean, yeah? What? You know, and so I learned things about her. What I began to find out is, you women are a lot alike. And so I would take the things that I was learning, and I started applying. I mean, we have, you know, pre-marriage counseling or coaching sessions, and we'd be going through them with, and in the back of my mind, I'd have this thing, and so I'd go, by the way, and I'd ask them the question that I was learning, you know, and they go, well, yeah. I go, And then I'd say to the guy, did you hear that? She doesn't want you to fix her. She wants you to listen. They go, wow, what does that mean? Because guys don't know, ladies. Don't get upset. Guys don't know. We don't understand. See, we think, I understand. Biology, we're different. And somehow we have this idea that up here, we're exactly the same. No, in the book of Genesis, when God says He made them male and female, it wasn't just down here, it was up here. And this is the biggest difference. And so we help people with what's down here. Okay, we help with that. But the biggest amount of help we do is up here. You know, can you imagine listening on the tape and trying to figure out what I just did, what I just said, and find it in your answer. Okay, now, Tim, you said you guys do ministry.
So what we call Marriage Matters, where we intentionally get together and I work up a lesson plan that has to do with trust or communication and talk about dialogue with each other about why it's important and pros and cons and about 45 minutes.
I'm not sure which congregation it was, but they just had they called it a marriage seminar, and then what they did was had a panel discussion. They actually had Roger Halacki and his wife, I'll her name right now, but Roger and his wife were down in New Jersey to come up, and several other couples. And they just had some kind of a panel discussion at their church about marriage. And I don't know how it went and that kind of thing. I'm going to get back to it. So Marriage Matters, do you, a little more details. How do you facilitate it? What do you do?
I give them some notes with non-yes or no questions.
Okay.
Questions that would make them say more than just yes or no.
Correct.
And of course, get them to talk about open passages of Scripture and how this applies to marriage. So we're restarting it again, but going back to the very beginning of it.
Yes.
But,
And understand when you ask questions, those open-ended questions that are just gut-level based, okay? And you can take things like my book and look in the back at some of those kind of things. There are some other things you can do. You can go on my blog. I'm really not trying to push it, but I have a blog, and you go in there and read some of those things. I'm writing some other articles for other publications, and I actually spoke to Greg about possibility of writing something about marriage and mentoring marriage in the Gospel Advocate. But you start picking up things like that and use open-ended questions, not, like you were saying, not yes or no. You don't want to shut those things down. You want to do open-ended. And by the way, you can start very, very generic. You know, what did you like best about your parents' marriage? Well, if they have a marriage like mine, I have to really go like my parents. I have to really go searching. But there were a couple of things homestead in their marriage. But I could find a couple of things that were there. Now, Elaine's family was kind of like Little House on the Prairie. And if you read my book, you'll see I call it that. And that's not a discouraging thing. Her family had supper every night together around the table. You know, if we had pizza around the same box at my house, that was pretty good. Okay, you got it. But you know, and they cared about each other. That blew me away. Because she's got 3 brothers. And they didn't always fight. You know, my brother and I fought a lot. And I've always been a little guy. I told you earlier, he's big. And so I learned how to fight real good. And so when I came to marriage, I thought, well, that's how I make a marriage good. I just fight hard. You know, so I could have sat in on class like that. What else about what you're saying then, Sister Kat? Okay, go ahead.
No, I'm gonna say, I think this is the program that we're using. I don't know who's the author, the writer of the.
Is that Jerry and Lynn Jones?
No, it's, I borrowed the title from somebody else.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if I wrote it.
Oh,
Yeah, I think Jerry and Lynn Jones at the Marriage Manager Show, or it could be somebody else. Yeah. Well, now his attorney is by Dr. Willard Carl. Now that's another, and I'm telling you, there's about at least 100 different directions to go in establishing a marriage ministry where you're just asking questions. Like with his needs, her needs, what Dr. Harley does, I'm going to jump on your bandwagon a little bit. What Dr. Harley does is he has 10 emotional needs, and he basically says there are 5 for women and 5 for husbands or for men. And then he goes through, does that. We used to have a part of our seminars where we go through those 10. The funny thing was, we would just go ahead and give all 10 of them and say, you know, he would go through and he'd say what he likes 1 to 10, highest to worst. And you'd go through that. Invariably, people look at the table, look over at their wife and go, well, we're not the same at all. And Elaine and I would go, that's exactly right. And you don't want to. You know, it's the differences in your marriage that make it sweeter, not weaker. It's those differences. And, you know, Elaine and I process information differently. It's one of the reasons that I've been a preacher for so many years. You saw me reading and talking at the same time. We do that all the time, right, John? Oh, that's what we do every Sunday. You know, we're flipping pages because we got another verse up here, but we're saying something else out here. Bless her heart, my wife tried to do that, she could all find out. And when she presents lessons for the ladies, she's got a manuscript. She's got 8 pages for 10 minutes worth of discussion. And that's fine. That's fine. My wife is a professional seamstress. She can take a bridal gown apart and put it back together again, and you'll think it just came from the factory that way. She does gorgeous work. Okay? I couldn't do 2 minutes worth of that stuff. It would drive me up the wall. Sitting at the same machine day in and day. You know what? We're different. God made us different. And so we're going to use those differences. And I'm talking about work stuff. But we're different as a husband and wife, and we complement one another. Just like before when I forgot a part of my book. She's helpful. And I do the same thing to try and help her in that way. Somebody else had that they do a ministry. Is that other than, go ahead, Sid.
Well, we're in Milton as well.
Oh, okay.
We're doing your book right now, but in the summer we do like a date night, once a month, and we also do an annual couple retreat, which we just came back from about.
Cool. Well, next time you have this couple retreat, think of this Jerry Stumpf guy for coming preaching. We'll be glad to come and do that. One of the other things that you might, especially since you guys have 12 couples and some of the other places have a few more, you said you had like 4 new couples or whatever, how many there do you have? Do some competitions. Like you mentioned date night. Kind of make a panel of a couple of people, I don't know, judges, or make some single people the judges, some widows or whatever, and months compiling the most imaginative dates. Man, how many dates could you get? And by the way, if you think you can't come up with things, you ask your kids about dates, and you say, oh, well, but our kids are 7 and 8 years old. You'd be astounded the things that they'll come up with. Now, are you going to be able to use all of them? No, making mud pies is probably not going to. But I'm telling you, there are some things, and then all of a sudden what happens is you got your kids involved in your marriage ministry. Let me tell you one more. How many of you guys here have daughters? Raise your hand. Okay. Now, brother, I'm real glad you raised your hand back there in the blue shirt. How many times a month are you dating your daughter? I mean dating. You know, you're taking her out just like you do mama over there. Do you? A month? You're a man. You're a man. Most guys, when I ask that, you know, try to hide somewhere. Tell you 2 or 3 things. It's dating your daughter, and it's different than mama's dating your son. It's not the same dynamic. Men, dads dating their daughters teaches the daughters how they need to be treated on dates. See, there was nobody going to treat my daughter on a date by coming up and honking the horn. I mean, you know, Kristen, I said, Kristen, what is that? She said, it's somebody that thinks I'm going to come up with a car. And he was honking the horn, you know, like, hey, Dad, get out here. Maybe called her something else, but come on out here. And she was like, no, you come to the door and act like I'm a person. You know. And then on the date, push the chair in for him, pull the chair out at the right time. That's for him. You treat him nice. You know? You ask them what they're going to bring. All the things that you want them to know. But you teach them how to behave that way. Let me share with you. Oh, any others? I didn't want to cut anybody off. Somebody else have other things. Let me tell you some things you can do to start interesting people in your church, and then you can take that to a marriage ministry. Okay, so this is not specifically a marriage ministry. This is just kind of overall some things that you can do. And some of these are things that other churches did, and Elaine and I said, whoa, we like that. We've got to do one of these things. And that is, you can have free event days, like Kevin Bethea down in Baltimore was giving away hot dogs and Cokes. And just you know, we're just giving away hot dogs and Coke. And he said people would come up with, you know, it was almost like, you know how a squirrel will come and finally, you know, come take that nut that's sitting real close to you and then run away. He said it's kind of like that. People come and get the hot dog like, what do we have to do for this? Nothing. It's free hot dog. Well, but we've never been around a church that did that. You've never been around our church. That was Kevin's answer back to it. You can give away. You can have a thing like a popcorn and you know those what do you call those things? Cotton candy. You know, you can do things like that. One of the things they did several years ago in Altoona, they had a free yard sale. A free yard sale. You know, just put in stuff and instead of charging it, people just get. And I understand you're going to get some scammers. That's okay. There's people in the community going, what is this church doing? They're different. Shit. Yeah. And you begin to teach them. It seems to me like Jesus fed a few people, folks, a few times. Didn't Jesus do that? Yeah. I thought so. You know, so he did that. I like this one. I think it was at Arkansas, and I really like this. I don't remember. Elaine may remind me of a different place, but they had an honor the first responders day. They had the police, and they had fire department, and down in Pennsylvania we have what's called EMTs. I don't know whether you have them as a special thing, you know, but they could come too. And they had their trucks out there, and people could come ask them questions, you know, about that. The kids all liked it, you know, they were climbing in and all around. And then just went in and said, you know, here, this is who we are. And she was doing it to train our grandson about giving. You know, and it wasn't about the firemen, it was about our grandson. But guess what? The firemen appreciated, you know, what was going on there. So you can do things like that. I mean, you could go all out with it and maybe make a thank you plaque and have that put up in the, you know, where they put it up in the fire hall, the EMT, and just say, thank you for your service. I mean, I hope that every time you see somebody who's in the military, who's eating in a restaurant, you go up and thank them for their service. I would encourage you to do that with doctors and nurses and what I call first responders, firemen, that kind of thing, you know. And the funny thing is, they're not used to getting that. So you go up and you thank them for their service, and they're going, like, the wrong uniform, dude. No. You're protecting me. And I appreciate that. You know, I'm not picking up a rock, throwing it at you. I want you to know I appreciate who you are. Oh, this is one that a congregation locally did, and I thought it was so neat. And you ladies are going to go, ooh, tell them it's neat. It was a host of single mom day. And what this particular congregation did was, now they had a licensed, what do you call people that do the nails and things? Manicurist, and they had somebody who was a massage therapist there. And so what they did, this lady or these couple ladies went in and took care of them. And then the church babysat kids. You know, and mom got the whole day just devoted to her. And I thought that was really a kind of a neat thing. So that's an idea for you to do things. Kim, how many couples do you have in your marriage matters group?
Varies, about 4 or 5.
Now, do you do that, or you try to do it once a month? Is that?
Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah, no, I understand. And it's like anything else. You make it the goal. You say this is what we're going to do, and if 3 couples show up and you got 12 of them on the register, you go with the 3. You know, you just keep doing that. It's kind of like any of you who've ever worked with young people. You know, sometimes there's 3 kids and sometimes there's 20 kids. They're there. Excuse me. And then I have a sheet for you. Okay, I have 2 sheets for you. One is one that I put together, and it's called 10 Biblical Approaches for Launching a Thriving Marriage Ministry. And it doesn't even go through the things that I mentioned there. It has different things, like, well, some of what I mentioned, mentor development, having a friendly to marriage day. I don't know, you probably come up with a better name than that. I told you I put this together. So you come up, if you come up with a real good name, can you send it back to me and say, this is what we came up with. But really, when was the last time your congregation highly honored marriage around your community? Kind of like we've done Bring Your Neighbor Days and that kind of thing. But did you just invite married couples in? One of the things we do at the seminars is we send out to the congregation a list, and every member, not just married, every member of the congregation has a sheet, and it has places for them to put their friends on there. So you have neighbors who are married, you put their names in there, and then it talks to you about praying for them. And then the second thing I want you to do, not only put their name down, I want you to tell them, I'm praying for your marriage. No strings attached, I'm praying for your marriage. Well, why would you do that? Well, because I think marriage is important. You know, so I'm praying for your marriage in that way. So that's something that you can do. And obviously, number 10 at the bottom says, you know, get Gary and Amy come in and do a marriage seminar, refresher seminar for you tonight, and we'll do that. So I have this for you, and so we'll share that with you. Somebody say something? This side's coffee. Oh, okay. I thought somebody said my name. I want to make sure I didn't miss somebody. I got that for you. Tell me some ideas about starting a marriage ministry. What do you think? What good would having a marriage ministry, I mean a specific marriage ministry, kind of like what Tim's talking and these guys are talking about in your congregation, what could it do for you? What could it positively affect for you? Yeah. Go ahead.
You have those special people that you to about marriage.
Okay? In the right shirt, and then hang on a second. Just, go ahead.
As for me, I didn't grow up with a mother and father in the house. I grew up with my mother, so I didn't really know this perspective of marriage. So this ministry helps me to be a husband,
Absolutely.
to my wife, and just the whole general aspect of the whole marriage.
Yes.
I learned.
And this brother and I have that in common. And there are lots and lots and lots of people out there. And the problem is, unless he says, hey, I don't know how to be a good husband, which, when's the last time somebody came forward or somebody stood up in your congregation and said, I don't know how to be a good husband? Now, you might have some, but for the most part, people don't do what you guys did and don't say, I don't know how to be a good husband. And, or I don't know how to be a good wife. I mean, it goes the other way too. You know, doing it. Sister, you had.
That was the first part of what I was going to say that I appreciate about the and the second part is that you get to be around a lot of different couples that vary in years that they've been married, and you get to listen to the experiences that they've been through, and maybe you're going through something similar.
Yes.
And you realize you're not the only one.
Absolutely. And that's key. In the seminars, we give opportunity. We don't press anybody. We give opportunity that people can share things. And one of the things is they will let us know what the good things they've learned in their marriage and things. And what's funny is to us, you know, somebody who's been married 6 years will listen to somebody who's been married 60 years, and they're saying the same thing about what they're learning in the marriage. And what funny does is it goes, you know, we're on the right track. We're doing okay. Let's keep at this thing, you know. And let's not look at it and say we have to be perfect. That's number one. Because no, there is no perfect. There was only one perfect husband. And who was that? Jesus. And by the way, his bride is not perfect, are we? So there was only one perfect out there. Go ahead, sister, you had.
One important thing that I learned is that you invest in your marriage and you get a positive return.
Oh, very good. Very good.
Books, and my sister actually told me this. So, but books and just, you know, these classes and things like that is an investment into your marriage. And the only thing you can get from that is a positive return.
That's right.
If you work at it.
Yeah, and that's one of the comments. We have a closing questionnaire, and we say, tell us something you've learned from this marriage. And a lot of times, people will put down, we got to spend a whole day and a half focusing on their marriage. And people have never done that. You know, people have never spent 9 or 10 or 11 hours just thinking about their marriage and how to make their marriage better. And what we do in the seminars is when we, down to 4 minutes. Thanks, David. What we do is we give, after every session that we do, we give you a paper that is a question and answer paper for you to talk about applying what I just showed on the PowerPoint. And so there's, I don't know, 7 or 8 questions, and you two sit down and you talk about it. Now, by the way, those of you that are going through this, we can send you some questions like that, you know, that you guys can keep on going, or you can supplement the book and that kind of thing. Yeah. How far are you in the book? Are you almost done? But then you need some more questions. Go ahead, Robert.
Yes, another thing that we learned was really stress, like another congregation. God has to be in the center of your marriage.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think some little short guy put that up on the board a while ago too. Yeah. And God is always at the center of your marriage. I appreciate you emphasizing that, Robert, because sometimes we forget that. Sometimes God gets pushed out to the side because of busyness. And busyness is probably the number one major problem these days. We get so busy doing things. Tim, what else, brother?
Well, as far as the church is concerned, better husbands means better leaders, better wives means better leaders, means more spiritually minded young people who are more faithful to the Lord in the end.
Two handsome gentlemen have pages for you. Make sure you get one for each one of them. Two different pages for that. Say it again.
Better leadership.
Better leadership, yes. And remember that strong marriages create strong create stronger churches. And the reverse of that is true too. You find marriage is degrading and family is degrading, and that church is in trouble. That congregation is in trouble. And so you want to make sure that you, Robert in the back too, well, all the way back in the corner over there. You want to make sure that you stay intact. So as we finish up, now, I really appreciate you being in here. I know it's the afternoon. I hope that we gave you some thoughts, and I appreciate you guys giving us some thoughts of things. Most all of you have, well, no, all of you, because you have it on here, have my email. If you think of things,